have an idea in your mind of something you want, and you deserve to get it. So how do you get there? Well, welcome to the Idea Space, a podcast devoted to helping you overcome frustration and make what you want a reality. I'm your host, Jen Liddy, high school teacher turned entrepreneur. Now I'm a business development coach. It's my mission to help women bring their ideas to life and get what they want without feeling guilty, selfish, overwhelmed, or lost. Every week, I share topics, tools, and strategies to help you move toward that thing you want. Create time and energy to do the things you love, get clarity on what you really want and how to get there, and most importantly, stop feeling alone with your challenges. Whether you've wanted to create a better business, job, relationship, hobby, or self, I know there's something more that you want, and it's time you were able to get it with confidence and clarity. Ready to have it? Let's go. Hello, and welcome to the Idea Space podcast. I'm your host, Jen Liddy, and I've designed this show to help you create some mental space so that you can make your idea a reality. And today's podcast specifically is designed to help you get some clarity so that you can move forward and take action. And whether you've already jumped into this year with both feet and feel like you're taking action, or you've been kind of ambling and strolling a little more slowly like I have, at some point you're going to find the 3 tools I'm offering today pretty helpful. I use these 3 tools whenever I'm feeling sluggish or slow, and they're fairly easy tools that you can use right now. They're not fancy, and I'm going to explain each one. And I know that maybe right now you don't need all 3s, but think about how you can kind of tuck these in the back of your mind to bring them out when you'll need them. The thing about each of these 3 tools is they're simple, but you just have to remember that they're there so that you can use them. Sometimes I forget that they're there. So let's get started. Tool number 1 I call look back, look now. And this is how it works. First, I think back to about a year ago from wherever I am in that moment. And I start to remember some things I really wanted for myself about a year ago. And you might not have written anything down. You might not remember specifics, and that's fine. Just remember the gist of what you were doing a year ago, what you wanted a year ago, and then look to where you are now and compare yourself. Assess where you are in comparison. Now, you might be cringing thinking of doing this because you're probably saying, nothing has happened in the year. I haven't accomplished anything I wanted to accomplish. I've even gone backwards. And I want to stop you right there because frankly, there's not one client that I've done this with who it hasn't been a huge light bulb moment for. So what we do is we start with the year ago and I say, let's look back a year, and she'll always go, oh no, shit, I didn't get very far. And then my job starts to be that I pull out of her head where she was a year ago, what she wanted, and we list it all out. And then, the interesting thing about that, the look back part of this exercise is she's like, oh, I forgot that I was doing that. And I forgot that I wanted that. And then we move into the part of look now, like where are you right now? And we make the list of what she's doing, what she's thinking, who she is right now. And she'll always say, whoever it is, whoever I'm working with, she'll always say, holy shit, I did make some progress. Wow, she's always kind of blown her own mind. And even if it's small progress, because sometimes it's small, and sometimes my job is to remind her of some wins that she forgot. And sometimes the shifts are very palpable. She realizes the momentousness of it. And sometimes the shifts have caused her to be able to see the changes in her bank account because her business has grown. Often the shifts that my clients see are emotional or mental, like she might like herself better or has improved boundaries, feels more peace, wakes up every day not feeling negative, is enjoying her life and business more. But without this look back, look now check-in tool, she'd likely not be patting herself on the back. I have come to rely on this quick assessment tool for myself because I find it quite motivating because almost always there's been forward movement. And maybe you don't even remember what your dreams or your goals or your desires were a year ago because a lot happens in a year. And that's okay. Today, a client struggled exactly with that. So she opened up her planner and her journal, and boom, there it was. She was brought back to a year ago of what she wanted and where she was. She jogged her memory just by looking at what she was doing every day. And so even if you don't have a journal, you probably have an online a digital calendar, so you can even open that up and look at where you were a year ago. And personally, I swear that I have holes in my brain, so I keep everything that I want on a list on my desktop. And this is actually tool number 2. I call this the dream desires list, which is a gigantic list of the dreams or goals or desires that you just keep them running. It's like a running list. It becomes a helpful tool in this business of designing a life you love. And last year, I started a ridiculous list and I called it Giant Goals 2019. And I didn't know if the things on the list would happen in a year or in 5 years, but I started the list anyway. And I kind of just added to it as the year went by. And on that list were some insane goals: pay off credit card debt, fix the garage, which the garage had like moved and listed to the right 18 inches. So it was it was going to be a major thing. Get the house painted, and we've got this big 100-year-old shake shingle house. So again, getting the house painted is not a small task. Increase my pricing, fill my private practice, and broaden my network. And at the time, those goals were absolutely insane. I'll tell you, they felt more like wishes or dreams at that time. And I had no idea how I was going to make any of them happen. Like, I knew what I wanted, but I had no idea how I was going to get there. And not knowing how is the thing that keeps many, 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 many people from ever getting started, because it's paralyzing to try to figure out all the hows of any situation. Like, exactly how were we going to pay off our debt? And exactly how was I going to fill in my private practice? These were questions that were running through my brain, but I didn't let them stop me from putting them on my list. So, if you've ever heard of Mike Dooley, he's a philosophical teacher. He founded the Notes from the Universe. If you do know Mike Dooley, you probably know the term the Cursed House. And basically, he says this is a problem that we create for ourselves by worrying about how we will achieve the things he wants. He teaches that it's not our job to know the how, that worrying about the hows actually keep us held back. So I met him and saw him teach in person about 10 years ago. And that's where I learned about this idea that worrying about the hows keeps us stuck. And the hows actually will show up for us if we can just kind of let go once we know what we want. So when I learned this 10 years ago, I have to admit, I was pretty skeptical. I was like, no, you need to know all the hows. You can't do anything until you know every single step. And at that point in my life, I hadn't yet started my personal development training or my journey, and my life looked nothing like it does today. At that time in my life, I would say my thoughts were very lack focused, and I spent a lot of time listening to my inner critic. She was running the show. My inner critic was telling me that I couldn't, and I can't, and I shouldn't, and I won't. And it was a bunch of negativity, and I just ate that up with a spoon. And I didn't quite believe that life could be any different than it was. And I loved thinking about the hows. And if I didn't know how to take all the steps, I wouldn't take the first one. So that's who I was about 10 years ago. And in that weekend session with Mike Dooley, I started to shift my mindset because I figured, well, he's created a life that he loves out of thin air. And what could it hurt to possibly test this idea that the hows just show up for us if we leave space and are open to what might show up? So then fast forward to 2019 and those insane goals that I wrote down. And I want to tell you, we hit every single one of them. We paid off our credit card debt. We got our house painted, and it wasn't cheap. I don't know, it was like everything from finding the person, finding the color, to actually paying for it, that we did it. I raised my prices. In fact, I more than doubled my prices, and I filled my private practice for coaching. And most curious of all, I expanded my network of business buddies to a place that I never ever expected it to be. I've met women in the last year who I never would have dreamed I could have met and had them be part of my inner circle. And if I'd spent any time at all worrying about those cursed hows, I never would have achieved any of these goals. And so I hope you've got your dreams for 2020 written down somewhere. And maybe they're fuzzy. Maybe they sound something like, I want to travel more, Or I want to be in a loving, communicative relationship, or I want to love myself, or even I want to have a thriving business. And those might feel like huge dreams for you right now. And you might be stuck because you've only got the gist of what you want. And maybe you've even said them out loud to yourself, but you have no idea how to get there. And you probably know some best practices and some strategies, but you probably can't see the whole path. And I know that that's scary because we all want to know how. People just say, just tell me how. Just tell me how to grow my business. That is that cursed how. And sometimes when we can't know all the steps, it feels impossible to take the first one. So, right now, in this second week of January, I encourage you to create a giant list of impossible feeling dreams and goals and wishes and desires. Just know what you want and write them down, even if you don't know how to get them. It's fine, but I want you to understand asking for the hows before you get started is what's holding you back. So the first step is make that gigantic dream desires list. That's tool number 2. And to make the things on that list real is tool number 3. Stop asking how. And I know that this is harder than it seems because it took me a couple of bumpy months and a bumpy year to really, really, really let go of the how. And once I let go of the how or asking how, things just started to show up because you cannot possibly know how all the pieces will unfold for yourself. For example, if at this moment you said, I desire like a loving relationship with great communication, you have no idea what will be presented to you to allow that to happen. You have no idea the opportunities that'll arise, or the magic that'll be presented, or the resources and teachers that will show up to help you. So if you don't know those things, the opportunities, the magic, and the teachers, how can you possibly know all the hows? It's just not logical. Think about all the things you've already done in your life that you didn't know all the hows. Let's start with kindergarten. You had no idea how your school life would unfold, but you did it. You went to kindergarten that first day, and then you went back, and you had no idea who you would meet, who your teachers would be, or what you would even learn. You had no idea what weird experiences or what great experiences would happen, but you went. Imagine if you'd said to your mom, no, I'm not going to kindergarten because I have no idea how these next 12 years are going to all pan out. I don't know all the steps of kindergarten through 12th grade. I don't already know how to read and I don't already know how to write. And because I can't see how I'm going to learn those things, I'm just not going to go. I mean, if we bring it down to that level, you can start to see how absurd we are to expect that we need to know everything in advance before we do it. I promise you, you've already done lots of things by accepting that you will just figure it out as you go. Parenting is like this, right? Like you had no idea which kid you'd get when you became a parent or how to deal with that kid, but you did it. When you take this first step toward accepting that you don't need to know all the hows, you will then be free to make your magic in the world. But only if you are open to the second part of this tool, which is to be open, to look for the possibilities, to see the help that presents itself, to take that help when it shows up, to say, oh, this might be the next step in my how journey. I'm going to try it. Now, whether you're someone who at this moment is saying, I know exactly what I want this year to look like, or you're saying, I'm not sure what I want, it doesn't matter. Until you're open to allowing the how to unfold, your journey will be harder. And you might be saying right now in your head, no, 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 Jen Liddy, I have a plan and a strategy. I'm going to put it into place. I know exactly what I'm doing. And to you, I say, that's fantastic. Work your plan and be open to it not going exactly as planned. Be open to your how changing, and I promise you'll get there faster and more easily. So for me, in January 2019, a year ago, while all the cool kids out there were picking a word of the year, I was being decidedly uncool and not picking a word. And to me, instead, I made a list. It made more sense for me. And every single thing on that list happened. I had no idea how it was going to unfold, but I was open to every possibility. I said yes to some things and no to others. And here I am 1 year later, And right now I'm a little unsure what's next in my business for me. I have an idea of what I want, but I'm not exactly sure of the hows. So I'm just kind of going with it. And I sure as hell know that what I want is possible. And that's what I want for you, to dwell in possibility, because there is such power there, rather than white knuckling through some bullshit excuse that you need to know all the hows before you can begin. Now, next week, I'm offering a free training on a twist of how to get started with this. And if you're on my email list, you'll be invited to join. It's called Anti Goals, a different way to get what you want. And to get on the list and grab your invitation via email, go to my website and download any of the freebies there. That way, you'll get a helpful tool to build your business and get on my email list to be invited to this month's training. Just go to www.jenliddy.com/free, and you will be on my email list. Don't download anything there that you find helpful, and then you'll get the invitation to join me for my training next week. Thank you for listening all the way through. I know that your time is valuable, and I hope that I've brought you some value today. If you would love to share this with a person in your life who you feel like could really use this message, a friend who's kind of stuck in the Cursive House, please share it and follow me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm at Jen Liddy Coach, and I'd love to chat with you there. Thanks for showing up. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining me today. You can access more free tools and video trainings at www.jenliddy.com/free sources. That's FREE sources. If you found this podcast helpful, I'd be so grateful if you subscribed and gave a review. And if you have a friend who'd benefit from today's topic, tool, or strategy, please share the Idea Space podcast with her. That way, together, we can help more women achieve their dreams and take action on their ideas. Isn't it time we all were able to get what we want? Join me next week, and remember, right now, all you need to do to make your idea a reality is take the very next step you know how to. Bye!